Hi students, this is Karimunisa Sayyed, Associate Professor in Zoology. Welcome back to session 37 under Zoology, Paper 2, Non-Card Data, Part 2. So in this session, we are going to learn the morphological structure or the structure, external features of Bellino glasses. Why do you want to study the structure or morphology of Bellino glasses? So again, only when we study the structure of varieties of animals in the nature as the nature inspires human creations from the times immemorable. So thereby, only when we study the design of animal body, we get inspiration from the nature, because often the animal body is remarkably precise. It is designed in a very elegant manner as an adaptation to the environment or the nature. So here, Bellino glasses also shows unique burrowing, tuberculous habits in the marine environment. Of course, before we study the structure of Bellino glasses, we must have completed our studies of animal architecture, and we must be aware of few of non-cardate and cardate characters and classification. Then coming to the Bellino glasses, what is it? So when we want to know about Bellino glasses, the first and foremost thing is we should know its systematic position, which is assigned because of its unique characters. So it is currently included under the phylum Chordata. All the chordates, they are known for few basic characters like presence of mid-dorsal notochord and also a single hollow tubular mid-dorsal notochord, presence of pharyngeal gill slits or the openings which lodge the gill, and also deuterostomia, that is the development of blastopore into larval anus. So same characters which we have studied in the echinoderms, also that is deuterostomia, is found in the Bellino glasses also. Of course, in the echinoderms we don't have these three characters, that is notochord, notochord and pharyngeal gill slits are not there in the echinoderms. Only deuterostomia is common to Bellino glasses and echinoderms. Coming to the subphylum Hemichordata. So Bellino glasses is also included under the subphylum Hemichordata, because as the name indicates, semi or hemi refers to the presence of a small part of notochord in their body. And other characters of hemichordates include the marine habitat in which they are found, and they also show enterocoelic coelom, that is, coelomic cavity is developed from the digestive system of the Archenteron. And as I already told, hemichordates refers to the presence of notochord only in the anteriormost part of the body, which is head-like. Of course, it is not a true head, but it is a head-like structure. So with these characters, we include Bellino glasses under the subphylum Hemichordata. Similarly, under Hemichordata, we have class Enteronusta, in which we have solitary animals with many gill slits, numerous gill slits, and usually the number of gill slits keep on increasing with the age of the animal. And they also have straight intestine, because in the case of urochordates we have a bent U-shaped intestine, the digestive system. Thereby under the Enteronusta we have straight intestine animal. So thereby this character is also found in the Belnoglossus. Belnoglossus is solitary, it has many gills and also straight intestine. Thereby it is included under the class Enteronusta. Similarly, why do we call it as a Belanoglossus? Belanoglossus is given the name Balanos, which refers to acorn fruit. That is, the acorn fruit is nothing but fruit of a oak. So this word Belanoglossus is also derived from two Greek words. Balanos means acorn, and glossa, you all must be knowing, glossa refers to tongue. Glossopharyngeal we say. So glossa refers to tongue. It is Deli Chiagi who has for the first time recorded the animal or identified this animal from the Naples region in the year way back 1829 and gave the name Belanoglossus clavigerus. And after many years, you can see Hyman, L.H. Hyman, she's a very famous US zoologist, and she is well known, author of many books, and very authentic statements she has given regarding various zoological aspects. So thereby, she stated that the Balanos means an acorn in reference to the shape of the proboscis, but Balanus word is derived from the genus Barnacle. So anyhow, Deli Chiagi also reported that the animal was commonly called ox tongue worm by the local fishermen because the anterior proboscis region of the animal, it is corn fruit like, or it also resembles the anterior tip of the tongue of vertebrates. So anyhow, this is the background or the history regarding the Belanoglossus. Coming to its geological distribution, Belanoglossus is a marine animal and it inhabits all the seas of the world. That means cosmopolitan in its distribution. About 20 species of Belanoglossus have been recorded in the tropical and subtropical seas. So here are some of the examples of different species in different parts of the world, which indicates that this particular animal is cosmopolitan in its distribution. Coming to the habit and habitat of Belanoglossus. Belanoglossus is a burrowing animal, as you see here. It may remain concealed under the stones or under the aquatic weeds also. It is mostly found in the intertidal zone. That means not in the deep seas. Although some of them, they'll be found in the sea waters as deep as about 100 meters. Anyhow, Belanoglossus excavates or forms its own burrows in the sand of seawater. or in the sandy muds of the seawater. So the burrow of particularly Belnoglassus clavigerus, that is the species, is U-shaped. It lives in the U-shaped burrow with the two openings. And these two openings will be usually 20, 10 to 20 centimeters apart. And anterior openings, usually there will be two. One main opening will be there. Apart from that, there may be one accessory opening also. And we can identify the posterior openings because of this fecal matter or the worm casting. So anyhow, you can remember that Belnoglassus is a vermiform animal. It is having elongated worm-like body, just like the earthworm. Then a constant secretion of the mucus, just like earthworms, the skin of Belnoglassus also secretes a lot of mucus. And this mucus also adheres to the sand grains, and thereby it forms the casting of the U-shaped tube. So there's every possibility that the U-tube formed by the animal may collapse over the period of time. Thereby, for the purpose of cementing of the U-tube, this animal is going to secrete mucus secretions, which when they get hardened, they form a firm U-shaped tube. Apart from that, not to allow the entry of its particularly predators into the U-tube or its tube, this Belnoglassus is going to secrete or emit iodoform. You all must have heard about chloroform. Similarly, instead of chlorine, if we have iodine in the place of chlorine, it forms a iodoform. Just like chloroform is very pungent, similarly, iodoform also will be having very strong odor, which will act as a repellent to drive away its enemies or the predators. Why? Because this animal is not showing active locomotion. It is very, very sluggish animal. Then let us see how the such beautiful precise burrows are formed. So this burrowing is done surprisingly by the most active part of the body, that is the proboscis. The proboscis becomes elongated by the contractions of the circular muscles, and it gets shortened by the contraction of the longitudinal muscles. Thereby, the two sets of muscles act antagonistic or opposite to each other in a very well coordinated manner, so that when one set of muscles contract, the other set of muscles will relax. So thereby it initiates a piston-like action by means of which the animal is able to make its burrow in the muddy sands. So thereby proboscis plays very important role in the formation of the burrows. Apart from that, to illuminate its burrow, it is a wonderful phenomenon. Just like how we construct the houses and we illuminate the houses, here also the animal will secrete one biochemical compound which will emit light. So thereby we can say nature is wonderful with a lot of unique creations. So moving further, the shape and color of the animal, as you see here, it is elongated worm-like animal, just like earthworm, You can see a little bit of segmentation also here, and division of body into three parts. That is, the body is divided into proboscis, collar, and trunk. This can be compared to the preclitellar region, and postclitellar region of the earthworm. So the body of Belenoglasses is very soft, elongated, cylindrical, obviously bilaterally symmetrical, with lot of cilia covering the body. Not only cilia, as we have seen, body will be covered by the mucus. It is also slimy, just like the body of a earthworm. But most of these worms are light brown in color. That is the drab colored. But they also will have reddish tinge. Why? Because it's just like earthworm. The skin of Belenoglasses is also helpful in the process of respiration. So thereby there will be reddish tinge, which is due to the presence of blood vessels there. And as we have already discussed, the skin also secretes luminescent biochemical molecules to emit light. That means it also exhibits bioluminescence. And also the skin secretes iodoform to protect itself from its predators and enemies. Coming to the size of the animal, the length of the body usually ranges from 10 to 15 centimeters. That means it will be about the size of your small scale. But the Belenoglasses auranticus of southeastern coast of United States attains about 1 meter length. And the largest acorn worm, Belenoglasses gigas, is more than 2.5 meters in length. And its habitat ranges from North Carolina, Brazil to Cape Hatteras. That means it will be of the size of your dupatta, length of the dupatta. Then it can construct, therefore, a burrow up to the depth of 75 centimeters or more. Obviously, the animal body is long, thereby the burrows formed will also be big. So anyhow, therefore we can say that the length of animal varies from minimum 2 centimeters to 2.5 meters according to the type of species. So moving further, regarding the shape and structure, the body is divided into three major parts. Proboscis, which is also called protozoum. Followed by protozoum, we have collar or mesozoum. And the third part, trunk or metazoum. The trunk is further divided into an anterior brachiogenital region, median hepatic region, and posterior posthepatic region or the abdomen. Let us study in detail one by one all these parts of the body. The first and foremost part is the proboscis, and it plays very important role as exclusively the burrows are formed by the proboscis. But you can see here, the proboscis is a short club-shaped structure, because of which we call it as a tongue worm also. And it sits on the collar just like a acorn fruit. So it forms the anteriormost part of the body, and the proboscis narrows posteriorly to form a proboscis stalk. The proboscis is a hollow structure. You can see here cavity, which is covered by a thick muscular wall. This cavity of the proboscis, therefore, it is called proboscis coelom. It is a single in nature. It is made up of only one chamber. It opens outside by means of a small pore here, you can see. It is called proboscis pore, which is situated in the mid-dorsal position near the base of the proboscis. And proboscis sits on the collar just like acorn fruit. Thereby, this animal is commonly called acorn worm. Coming to the second important part of the body, it is a collar, which is the middle part of the body of the animal, which is compared to the clitellar region of the earthworm usually. So collar consists of a flap of muscular tissue which forms a funnel-like anterior part called collarette. This collarette, so just like around your neck, you will be having boys in the shirt, you will be having the collar. Similarly, we have collarette, which embraces the proboscis stalk. So your collar, shirt collar will be embracing your neck region similarly. And usually, it also supports the posterior part of the proboscis. So the posterior part of the proboscis also conveniently it can sit on this collar. So thereby, this collar is sharply demarcated not only from the anterior portion, also from the posterior trunk region of the animal. Another important feature which you should remember is that anteriorly on the ventral side, we also find a small opening, that is mouth, in the collar, which is always kept open, and the edges of the collar, particularly the ventral edge of the collar, acts as the lip of the mouth. So thereby mouth will be always kept open. It is not having its own lips. So with that, we have finished with the collar. Of course, we are going to study coelom separately. In the collar also, we have a pair of coelomic cavities, which will open into the first pair of gill pouches in the trunk region. Coming to the third important portion of the animal body, that is the trunk region. So in this diagram, very clearly, you will be able to see anterior proboscis, middle collar, and the posterior trunk region. The trunk region is elongated, posterior part of the body. It is somewhat flat and also annulated. You can see the segmentation on the surface. Then we can also see, just like in the case of earthworms, a mid-dorsal line and also a mid-ventral line. So we have a mid-dorsal and a mid-ventral longitudinal ridge all along the length of the trunk of the animal, which is due to the presence of mid-dorsal and mid-ventral blood vessels, just like in the case of earthworms. Apart from that, we can divide very conveniently, because of the different structures, the trunk region into three regions. The anteriormost part of the trunk is called brachiogenital region, because in this region we see gills and also the gonads. Brachio refers to gills, genital refers to the gonads. Then the middle portion is called hepatic region, because of the presence of hepatic caecae. So as the name indicates, liver-like structure. Of course, the hepatic caecae are present internally. Only the bulgings indicate the sacculated or the sac-like structure of the hepatic caecae. Then beyond this hepatic region, we have post-hepatic region or the abdomen of the animal, which ends with a small opening, that is the anus. So thereby we can say it is having complete digestive system. Coming to a little bit details of brachiogenital region of the animal. On the dorsal surface of brachiogenital region of the trunk, mid-dorsally, on either side of this mid-dorsal ridge, we see a double row of small pores. These are called brachial apertures. These are the gill apertures. And the number of gill apertures depends on the age of the animal. That means with the age, the number of pores keep on increasing. And each row is situated in a elongated furrow. In some species, the most anterior-most part, you also see a overlapping here. The skin is showing a sort of overlapping, folding, which is called operculum. Then the brachiogenital region also has lateral thin flap-like structure, which forms longitudinal flaps. So in this region, we have a lot of gonads in the genital ridges. So in some genera, the genital ridges are so prominent that they form a broad wing-like lateral folds. These are called genital wings. But in some animals, these genital wings may be absent. They may not be having so much broad lateral folds, extended folds. But still, in all animals, we have brachiogenital region. Coming to the next portion, it is the hepatic region. The hepatic region is marked only dorsally. You can see on the ventral surface, we don't see any hepatic region. That means it is smooth. Why? Because is on the dorsal position, it is externally showing some irregular elevations because of the presence of hepatic caecae in the body. Hepatic caecae, just like we have studied the pyloric caecae of starfish or the digestive glands attached to the intestine of the animal. So their position is indicated by this irregular elevations on the skin of the animal, which are dorsal in position. So thereby, you can see little bulging in the anterior part. Followed by this hepatic region, we have abdominal region or post-hepatic region. It is also called post-hepatic region. So the abdominal region is the longest and cylindrical part of the body. It tapers gradually towards the tail region. Of course, it is not having a true tail. Post-anal tail is different, which ends with the terminal anus. at the tip of tail-like region, but actually it is the abdomen of the animal. So the coelom of the trunk is also divided into two. That means there are two coelomic cavities here by the presence of a vertical partition between the body wall and the gut wall, digestive system. So with that, we have finished with the study of structure or the morphology of the Belenoglasses, and I am sure that now you're all convinced that the animal body has developed proboscis for the formation of the burrows, and also it secretes mucus to build the burrows. It also emits iodoform to scare away the enemies and also illuminates its burrows. Isn't it wonderful adaptation found in the nature? That is the burrowing tuberculous habit, and also the adaptations in the body to live in a very convenient way in the marine habitats where we see a lot of turbulences in the seawater. But still the animal can hide itself in the burrows. So thereby, I always keep telling nature always inspires man, and we have to learn a lot from these animals. You all know the hexagonal shape of honeybees cell in the honeycomb or the honey nest also has inspired man. The flight of the birds also has inspired man. So similarly, always animals keep inspiring us. With that, we have come to the end of today's session. So these are some of the references which will help you in future studies. Do write to us your feedback to email ID zoology.bcu@gmail.com. Thank you.